HDSLR Shooter, your source for news from NAB 2014. Brought to you by Adobe, Animas, Blackmagic Design, and Carl Zeiss.
Hi, Clint with HDSLR Shooter. I'm here with Rich of Carl Zeiss. And Rich, we're going to talk a little bit about exchangeable mounts on the Zeiss lenses.
Yeah, so we introduced this in 2011, I believe. The original CP2s. And the CP2s were second generation over the compact primes. And the difference was with the ability to swap the mounts. Because we saw that DSLRs were becoming an important factor. And people wanted a cine-style lens to fit onto their a Canon or Nikon camera. And we also saw that camera technology was changing and becoming unpredictable. And an investment in lenses, if you're spending anywhere from $12,000 to $25,000, it's a significant investment for an entry-level filmmaker. And we wanted to make sure that those lenses were as future-proof as possible. So this interchangeable mount function is something that Zeiss developed and patented and introduced into the CP2 series. And what I'd like to be able to show is just how easy it is for the user to swap those mounts out. So, as an example, what I have here is a CP2 21mm PL mount. So it's a traditional mount for cinematography market. And what I have over here is the Sony A7R. This is the R model. It's a 36 megapixel designed for still use. But at the show, Sony introduced the S version of the camera.
It's the same mount, right?
In fact, aside from the sensor architecture, the body is basically the same. It's a 12.2 megapixel 4K, basically still camera, but designed for video applications. Now we have another solution where we can take our 21mm ZE lens with a Metabone Smart Adapter, which provides an interface between the EF lens, compatible lens, and the Sony body. And I would have, basically a 21mm lens with a long throw and hard stops that I could use for filmmaking. That's one possible solution. Another one for a filmmaker who really wants a cinema style would be to take this lens and convert it to E-mount and mount it directly to the camera. And that's what we're going to do right now. Okay. So the process takes about 4 minutes. Fortunately, need my glasses for this. But the PL mount is held onto the CP2 barrel with 8 Torx screws. And what I'm using is a Torx wrench, right? So it has a preset torque limit. It's a standard T6 torque wrench, but the torque limit is preset by the factory. And that's designed, and that's specifically intended so that when I retighten these Torx screws, I don't strip them out. I don't snap the head off. So you'll see that as we retighten them out. So the first step I'm going to do is to remove the PL mount with the 8 Torx screws. And the beauty part is that I'm not doing anything to change the lens optically. All I'm basically doing is swapping the mount out. So once these 8 screws are backed out, I'm simply removing the PL mount. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to capture these screws. Now you notice on the back side of this, one of the shims is caught. Now these shims provide fine focus adjustment. For back focus. And there's one way for this shim to go in. So you notice there's a key slot here, and I'm simply just going to drop the shim over the top. Now I'm not going to describe how to actually adjust the back focus of the lens. That's a process we describe on our website. It takes about 20 minutes to do per lens, but it's a pretty straightforward process. We sell these interchangeable kits. This happens to be for the E-mount that fits the 21mm lens. The kit sells for $390. It consists of a spacer, the mount, additional Torx screws, and some additional shims. And the shims are color-coded based on the thickness of the shim. So my first step would be to mount the spacer. And again, there's a key slot here that's going to fit over the key pin. I'm just going to drop this down until this locks in place. I'm then just going to take these 8 Torx screws that I took out of the PL mount, and I'm going to just simply position them into place before I tighten them down. Now what this spacer basically does is it adjusts for the difference in flange distances between the mirrorless Sony camera and the PL mount. Now, I don't know exactly what it is on the Sony. It's somewhere under 20 millimeters, but the PL mount is 52 millimeters. And again, in order for the lens to be in focus at infinity, it wants to be at a certain distance from the flange. And what this basically this spacer and the mount does is compensates for that. So once the 8 Torx screws are in place, I'm going to simply just snug them up before I tighten them down. And I'm not going to over tighten this because we don't want to compress the shims, which could cause a little bit of unsymmetrical focus later on. I'm simply just going to snug these up. Now, this is not something we would recommend doing in the field. You're going to do it in a clean environment. I might do it in a hotel or I might do it in an office, but typically not out in a dusty environment, right? Now, the beauty part of this is that the rental houses are doing this day in and day out. It's a very simple process. Now, just like changing your car tire and snugging it back up, I'm going to alternate tightening up. So I'll turn till it torques. I'll flip over on the opposite side, and I'll just go back and forth. And then the spacer is complete. Now's the mount. The mount has an index, and I'm going to put this over here on basically the focus hashtag, and that becomes my alignment mark, like so. I'm going to take some additional, I needed 4 additional Torx screws, which comes out of the bag that we used, or that came with the mount set. And I'm just going to simply drop these into place. Okay. And then we're just going to snug these up the same way we snugged up the spacer ring. And then once these 4 are completed, the mount change is done. And the amount of time that we sat here and just did this little demo, you've converted one of your lenses. And again, rental houses love this because they do this day in and day out. Their lenses become very versatile. For the owner-operator, we think they're going to do this, a few times in the life of the lens as they change their cameras. So now basically I have a 21 millimeter that we've converted from PL mount to E. It's going to give me basically the same solution as what I have here, but with better focus control. And then take this like so, mount it up to the Sony camera.
And you're good.
And we're good.
So the mounts come for E, and what are the other versions?
So PL, which is this basically what we took off this lens, Canon mount EF, Micro Four Thirds, and Nikon F mount.
And so it's conceivable that as new cameras come about, you guys might make new mounts for them?
Really, for us, it doesn't matter. For us, camera technology again continues to change. It's kind of been one of our messages for the last couple of years. But lenses, if you get a lens line that is this versatile, provides you the image quality that Zeiss can give you with full frame coverage, which is what the Sony 7S now provides, 24 by 36, 4K, so we are able to resolve that fine detail and be able to swap your mounts out. We think we have the best solution out there right now.
And again, does a torque wrench, does that come with the kit when you buy it?
Yeah, it's an additional item. So any T6 torque wrench would work. What we like about this one is that it has a preset torque limit, so there's no risk of stripping out your torque screws.
Excellent. And so people want to find out more. They want to find out more. What do they do?
Zeiss website. So zeiss.com/cine. And then within that page, you'll notice we'll have subsections for master primes, ultra primes, and then we have the compact primes. When you click on the compact prime section on the right-hand side, there's a booklet you can download that goes through exactly what we did here, how to change the mounts out, and how to adjust for back focus.
So thank you so much, Rich.
My pleasure. Thank you.
HDSLR Shooter, your source for news from NAB 2014. Brought to you by Adobe, Animas, Blackmagic Design, and Carl Zeiss.